Joining me now, Michael Mann, Presidential Distinguished Professor and Director of the Penn Center for Science, Sustainability, and Media, and author of the book, Science Under Siege. It's good to see you, Michael. A question I've been getting a lot. What role does climate change play in the severity of this storm?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's good to be with you. And it plays a profound role. One of these storms, these hurricanes, they are giant heat engines. And the amount of work that that engine can do, which is basically how strong those winds are, is a function of how warm the ocean surface is. We've warmed the ocean surface more than a degree, about 1 degree Celsius, closer to 2 degrees Fahrenheit, because of heat trapping carbon emissions from fossil fuel burning. And that has led to stronger storms that do more damage, a roughly 10% increase in those maximum wind speeds, but a roughly 33% increase in the amount of damage that the storm can do, because that's actually proportional to the third power of the wind.
So this is the strongest storm to hit Jamaica in history, at least in recorded history. It comes on the heels of multiple storms that intensified at breakneck speed. Are we just sitting and waiting do we expect that things are just going to get even worse in the future?
Yeah, this is the second strongest storm on record in the Atlantic, the strongest storm this late in the season, and it's tied to these very warm sea surface temperatures, which are persisting over a wider and wider season because of the warming of the planet. And that will all continue to get worse as long as we continue to warm up the planet. So the only way we can prevent this from getting worse is to transition dramatically away from fossil fuels towards clean energy. You mentioned something else, the rate of intensification. This is another feature of these storms. We've seen so many of these very rapidly intensifying storms in recent years that balloon from a weak tropical storm to a major hurricane in under 24 hours. And we know that that sort of behavior is also influenced by very warm ocean temperatures. And the faster they intensify, the less time we have to figure out what to do when we find ourselves in harm's way.
Well, I want to talk about harm's way right now. I've covered quite a few storms in my life. I've never faced anything like 185-mile-per-hour winds. And you may have heard Jamaican officials say no infrastructure on the island is built to withstand a hurricane of Melissa's strength. Is that true for a lot of the world and certainly even parts of the U.S.?
Yeah, in fact, I and other leading climate scientists have actually argued that we need a new category, a category 6, for storms that have maximum sustained winds of more than 185 miles per hour, 186 miles per hour or greater, because if you extrapolate the so-called Saffir-Simpson scale, there should be a new category at that wind speed. And these storms are qualitatively more dangerous. As you said, a storm with wind speeds of that magnitude will level just about every structure in Jamaica. And that applies to much of the infrastructure that we have along the Gulf Coast and the east coast of the U.S. as well.
Bill Gates, who just 4 years ago wrote a book about impending climate disaster and invested billions to avoid it, today said that climate change will not destroy humanity. And I want to play a little bit of what he told to CNBC.
Climate is a super important problem. There's enough innovation here to avoid super bad outcomes. We won't achieve our best goal, the 1.5 or even the 2 degrees. And as we go about trying to minimize that, we have to frame it in terms of overall human welfare, not just everything should be solely for climate.
Critics are already saying that he seems to be setting up an argument that climate change efforts hurt foreign aid for the poor, that it's an either-or proposition. Do you hear in what he says a reframing from someone who has been a force in the climate change field?
Yeah, it's very disappointing. And frankly, Bill Gates doesn't have any expertise in climate science. And he's failing to listen to what the experts actually have to say. And we're seeing it play out in real time right here. Disastrous climate change is not far off in the future. It's not 1.5 Celsius. It's not 2 Celsius, as he suggests. It's here. And the question is, how bad are we willing to let it get? And if we continue to warm the planet beyond that level of warming, we will exceed our adaptive capacity. And so when Bill Gates says we'll just sort of try to engineer our way out of it or innovate our way out of it, it's really tone deaf to the fact that there are a very large number of people who will suffer catastrophic consequences if we continue to allow the planet to warm up by continuing to burn fossil fuels. And I wish that Bill Gates would use the platform that he has to urge politicians and policymakers to help us transition away from dirty carbon energy towards clean energy as quickly as possible.
Michael Mann, always great to have you on the program. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.